What is up, everyone? We're at Dirtybird CampINN in Orlando with Option4, also known as a pioneer for house in Denver. You've been doing this for a very long time, over 2 decades.
Too old. Yeah, it's so old. Yeah, forever.
Young, forever young.
Forever young.
Forever young. So
100%.
Tell us, how has your first Dirtybird CampINN been?
So fun so far. Obviously just got here, so the flight was very lucky that everything worked out, but so far it's been great. Everybody's got a real good vibe and everybody's here to party and have a good time, so it's been awesome so far.
Yeah, and we just catched your set at the pool party. Dirtybird is known for, at least CampINN is known for their pool parties. How was that energy?
Awesome. Lucky that the weather held out, so
yes.
I'm very fortunate there. But yeah, every Dirtybird event is always going to have a certain energy, and the community just that they have built over the years. I've seen it firsthand from the very beginning, and I've seen it grow over the last, for me personally, over the last 10, 11 years, and it's always had a certain integrity to it, and the people and the fans that really, enjoy this music. It's almost gotten to the point where, I think it's safe to say it's gotten to the point where it's not even, it's beyond the music at this point.
Yeah.
It's more about the community and more about the events and more about the people getting together and having that like-mindedness, and that just kind of transcends the music at this point. So I've thrown a lot of Dirtybird events in Colorado, and I've seen that grow from, when I was booking all of the guys in 250 cap rooms to, throwing big Dirtybird barbecues at 3,000 cap, and awesome. I've seen all of these artists that have grown from the label over the years. So it's awesome to see the community, and in Colorado I can attest that the community is very strong as well. So it's really cool to see everybody get together, and especially on an event like this where it's like a destination event. You got people from all over the country that get to fly in and enjoy it all. So it's definitely special, and it has its own energy.
Yeah, and talking about events, I know that during COVID you kind of took a break on releasing music to bring back the scene in Colorado for house. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, that's why I'm irrelevant. Before the pandemic, it was obviously I was releasing a lot of music and I had the record label and I was touring heavily. And then kind of after when the pandemic hit, and then, it was just kind of the whole focus was how do we just kind of keep people employed, right? So we did these different events that were these weird socially distanced stuff, and we did all these things that we could to try and keep people to have a job, because everything shifts when it's more about keeping people alive, right? Yeah. Keeping people paid to try and pay bills, and it's just totally different. I hope we never see anything like that again in our lifetime. But then when everything came back and it was okay, we could go to work again, I just kind of felt like the world needed me to be Brendan Brierly. It didn't need me to be Option4. I felt like the world needed me to be a promoter, because my income and my livelihood could sustain itself as me being a promoter, right? And all the artists that were not being able to play and not being able to gig, it's I just felt really goofy about being cool, I'm gonna go gig again too.
Yeah.
I felt like those slots, and I felt like those artists, all those shows and all those parties that needed to go to the artists that were also really struggling to pay their bills as well, right? So it's if I could pay my bills as a promoter, I might as well focus on trying to bring back contribute my voice as a promoter in the scene and focus on that aspect, while all the rest of the artists could do what they do and shine and make sure that they get to play for their fans. So that was kind of the reason that I stepped back from the artist side of things over the last few years.
And I think that honestly says so much about your character and how you kind of view the scene. And I want to ask you, what keeps you motivated and inspired now that you're back kind of creating? What keeps you inspired to keep on doing that?
As an old dying man, it's kind of I think that the biggest thing about it is that there's always probably a thread of creation and creativity that goes into everything that I do every day, right? And I think whether that's promotion, promoting events, or coming up with ideas for events, or figuring out ways of bringing people together, there is an aspect of creativity to that, which is the motivation, right? Yeah. The struggle, I think, where that I guess the struggle there is where if you're doing something you really truly love, and I think this happens with any artist, if you're doing something you truly love for a job, right, is maintaining that drive and maintaining that appreciation every day, where you get to wake up every day and you're like, I get to do my dream job for a living, right? And you don't view it as work, and you don't get
100%.
View it as a job. So maintaining that balance is like the appreciation of what you get to do for a living is like the trick, and that's the greatest trick the devil ever pulled, to be fair. Like, if you're able to do that, then you're always going to be able to be motivated and feel inspired in everything you do. Mm-hmm. So yeah, when it comes to the motivation side, I think because this world is changing so fast and music is always changing, and the music these kids are making and the genres are morphing so fast, and the tempos are morphing, and everything is like kind of like the Wild West post-pandemic.
Yeah.
That is actually really inspiring just in general, not only as an artist, but as a promoter as well, right? I'm more of somebody that just is a connoisseur of music in every aspect, whether it's business or whether it's creating music. And so it's like, because it's always morphing and always changing and always this constant wheel of stuff working, stuff failing, stuff, if it was just easy and everything worked all the time, then it would be pretty boring.
It would, yeah.
So I guess that's a very long-winded answer to tell you why it's always easy to be motivated, because there's with the speed of everything that is changing so fast, it's always exciting, I guess. Does that make sense?
No, it makes complete sense, and I like that a lot, honestly. It is changing a lot, the scene, the music at least. It's like every quarter, I would say, there's something new, someone new, and it's like you want to stay up to date with that, but I think being in the scene and being so involved, you really get to experience all of that firsthand. So what's the best advice you've received as an artist?
Best advice I've received as an artist. To be fair, kind of like the cheesiest shit ends up ringing true. It's kind of like when your dad or your mom tells you something that you don't want to listen to when you're younger, and then you find out later in life that they were right.
Yeah.
Pretty similar to that. Like, for me personally, I think that, and it changes, but I'll just hit the mic. But I guess the most important thing that was always implanted to me, and I didn't maybe understand it when I was first gaining success or first able to tour or first getting notoriety or first putting out records that mattered, right, over my career. But when I would say you stay 100% authentic as an artist, you're never, ever going to be disappointed. Your career might go up and down. You might have more success or less success, but I didn't really quite understand that until you have enough time in the game to understand it.
Yeah.
Right? And what I mean by that is, oftentimes artists, and I think it falls into the category of a lot of other artists too that are just now up and coming, a certain sound will become very popular, and a lot of kids that are just learning how to produce, they might become very inspired by that sound. What ends up happening is, you see it time and time again where these artists will almost kind of like emulate a certain sound. Mm-hmm. And then you've got what I've always called like bad carbon copies of like that artist that is maybe at the top and kind of pushing that sound. And so if you look on it, I've always looked at it like a graph. It's like, if you're looking at like we'll say like a spectrum, and you're looking at frequency waves and there's all these spikes. It's like if something is at the top, some big spike, and we'll just say whatever that artist is at the top, and they got the biggest spike, right? And they are creating a certain sound or known for a certain sound. It's like all of the other artists that kind of emulate that sound are just in the wave underneath it, right? And I think that when you're authentic to yourself, you don't need to have the biggest spike. You just need to be over here on the graph and create enough of your own wave, right? And that'll only ever happen when you're 100% authentic, because every single artist is going to have their own experiences. They're going to have their own influences. They're going to be able to tell their own story when they're creating. So I didn't understand that until later in life. And I think that by far is like the most important like piece of advice for any artist. It sounds generic, but it's you look at any artist that's absolutely crushed it, not a single one has ever tried to emulate a sound of
They have
any
their
of
own
those
thing, and that's why I think they're so successful, because they know them for that sound or that thing.
It's pretty apparent, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's just kind of hard to stomach that and understand that. So not like everybody is just going to be this savant and original, whatever. But I think that authenticity is always going to shine through. So
100%. And how did you get the name Option4?
That's what happens when you pick your DJ name when you're 17. I recommend it highly for everybody. I think it's very important. It's kind of goofy. So basically, I had this best friend who like looked after me when my mom was gone, and he was like a family friend. And anyhow, like he was engaged to this girl, and me and her didn't click, and he kind of looked after me, like would take me to my first parties, take me to my first like concerts and shit, and he always looked after me. And he was a little older, and he was like my best friend, and I didn't vibe with the girl when she came along at all, right? Because then I felt threatened, right?
Yeah.
All my time was gone. Like little brother didn't get to hang out no more, right? So I had this bitterness. I'll be first to admit it. I wasn't the most mature 17-year-old, and so anyhow, long story short, like he finally got to break up with her. Like they broke up, which was so sick. I was so pumped on that. That was like the best day. Like we went to the store. I went and bought breakup presents. I was like so fucking pumped, and we were all kind of hanging out. And he was like, well, option 1, I could get back with her. Option 2, I could like, whatever the fuck, option 3 was this, and he was like, or option 4. We could all just stay single, party forever together. And I was like, I'm option 4. That's who I am. And then, he started making records, like, and start DJing and all that stuff. So,
And it just stuck. I love that.
Yeah, that's
That's
what happens when you're 17. So that's where it came from.
I love that. So now I have some food and travel questions. This is more for your fans or anyone that's watching this wants to get to know you outside of the music.
Oh dear, there's not much there.
But these are fun, I promise.
Okay.
I promise. So, if you were a dish, any food that you can be in the world, what would you be?
A dish?
Tough question.
A dish?
So many dishes, I know.
I don't know. What do I like? I feel like this is where you got to like have a thing and then it's a joke and it's really funny, but I'm not very witty. I feel like I would be ramen because I'm spicy like a noodle. I don't know. I'm not sure.
That works. Okay, is ramen your favorite food then? Or is there something else that's your favorite
There's
food?
a spot that I go to in Denver that I like when I'm traveling and I'm gone a lot, I will crave like crazy, and it is ramen. So I do eat that like.
What spot is it?
It's called Uncle. Highly recommended. If you're ever in Denver, you would love it. I go there way too often, and it's like embarrassing. They all know me, and yeah, it's goofy.
So touring in nightlife can take a toll. I know it's very exhausting at some points. When you need a moment to relax and escape, where's that spot in the world that you go to?
I travel a lot, so it's like I don't know. That's neither here nor there. I'm not one of those people. I'm not Rick Rubin. I don't go sit on a mountain and cross my legs and listen to gongs. For me, like when I think about peace or I think about things like that, for me, it's conversations with friends. It's being able to relate with people that can understand the world that I live in, and that is very rare because the world that I live in is very intense and very unique, right? And I was just telling Zoe about this morning or whatever day it is. I don't know. Like we not a lot of sleep lately, but like I go through phases. Look at me being personal. I go through phases, and those phases consume me for a finite amount of time. I don't know how long they are. It could be like basket weaving or something, and I'll see something online, and I'm like, oh, I'm a basket weaver now, and I just get like super hyper focused on it, and I'm like super pumped on basket weaving for like 48 hours, and then I get inspired by something else, and then I'm like, oh no, listen, oh my gosh, you've never heard of, chess, and then I am fucking in on chess, like so hard, like, and when I'm not working, that's what kind of like inspires me and consumes me, and that's where I find like a little bit of space away from the game. Like for me personally, it's difficult because when it becomes something that is a passion, but it also consumes you, that is very dangerous. And what I mean by that is like the majority of my time is spent almost every day working, right? Mm-hmm. And that's not an exaggeration. That's like very factual. Yeah. Right. So like if there was a time card that I was punching, I don't know what those hours would be, but it would be far and away more hours than most people would ever clock in on like a typical day job. So for me personally, it's like I find rest and relaxation by these little mini games or whatever they are that I get fascinated by. And those phases change like, I don't know, whenever they, like every week or 2 or 3 weeks or whatever I'm hyper focusing. Right now it's chess. So I'm big on chess, and I've been big on chess for like 72 hours, and I could tell you all about it for like, I don't know, until I get bored of it. But yeah, so that's where I end up finding like any type of relaxation. I get hyper focused on random stuff that's different than music. Okay,
that's awesome. And then is there anywhere in the world that you want to cross off of your bucket list that you haven't been to yet?
Japan.
Okay. And you can also eat a lot of ramen there.
Universal Studios.
In Japan or here?
No, this one.
This one?
Yeah.
You have to. We're literally at the entrance.
Yeah,
you have
I found
to go.
out about that. Yeah, that's pretty fucking cool.
And it's Halloween Horror Nights right now. Are you into that type of stuff?
I don't know. We're going to go on Tuesday, and it's going to be the best day of my life.
You're going to have so much fun.
Yeah. And then we're going to go to Japan, hopefully at the end of the year, and that's going to be really cool. I'm really excited for that.
That'll be awesome. I definitely have some recommendations for you if you do go.
Okay, cool. So. Yeah, I'm super in on that. Yeah, those are 2 places that I finally answered a question without a TED Talk, so that's cool.
I like these TED Talks. They're honestly very enlightening, and I even learn a lot from them, so they're very helpful.
I'll just tell you what kind of dish I am.
No, don't keep it boring. So last thing I do want to ask you, is there any upcoming projects that we should be keeping an eye out for?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm working on, right now I just finished a couple of big projects that took up a tremendous amount of time. And so now it's kind of like I'm very much so looking forward to working on the creative aspect of like the artist project again. So, that's where a lot of my energy, I think, is going to get spent over the next foreseeable future. And for the first time in I don't know how many years, I can finally say that. So that's where I'm going to, spend my time outside of work pursuing, right? It's kind of like you get to work your day job and then go work your night job afterwards. That's what I'm looking forward to. So whether that be, perhaps a new record label venture or perhaps that's finally releasing music again.
I'll be excited for that.
Most important thing is just creating. And so whether that be something that ever comes out or whatever, it's like that's the most exciting thing for me is finally devoting energy into the creative space that's more personal and not necessarily work related.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much for your time. Guys, make sure to follow him. I'll have all the information in the description. And that's it. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you very much.